Riccardi.
Welcome to the Augmentation of Man. I am Renee Miller.
I am Kent, same last name.
Today, we're going to be continuing on with our discussion about the higher self and how it relates to karma. So, our guides, the ancients, who Kent receives telepathic communication with while he is in meditation,
these answers.
Yeah, and they have explained to us that humanity really doesn't understand karma. Only few people do. And so we are passing on these lessons about all things, but today is going to be about karma. And again, what we're going to do is put it on a PowerPoint so you can see the original unadulterated message as it is received.
Given to me.
Yeah, as Kent receives it, we're going to put it in its exact form. And really, the reason why we do this is we want to show you how it comes through, of course, but how we decipher it. And it gives a level of validity because we don't normally speak like this. And the language, again, a lot of the words come from Greek and Latin root words. And you really have to use a dictionary when you're deciphering it. So the second part of that is that we're giving it to you in its original language so that you can decipher it yourself.
The dictionary is in, not that we're going to get you to buy the book, but the word dictionaries are in our
glossaries.
Our glossaries of our books.
Yes, so if you have a copy of the book, we're showing you essentially how to read this, how to interpret it when we go through these videos and the PowerPoints. And these books are available on Amazon if you would like to purchase one for yourself. This is the Acquiescence of Humanity, which goes into humanity's history with extraterrestrials, where we're going, Earth changes, everything is going on right now politically. There's a spiritual component to everything that's happening.
Okay.
And the other book is The Acquiescence, A Study in Renaissance, available on Amazon.
Let's begin.
So we're going to share our screen. This is Karma and the Higher Self. This is part 2 of the Higher Self.
So, what is karma was a question that Renee asked. And their answer was karma is a continuation of self-thought, a stream of uninterrupted essence of thought, to be corrected as needed, from the beginning to the end, the thought of one's self-entity. And we discussed what the word self-entity means. And we'll come to somewhat of a conclusion. And Renee will explain what self-entity means. A correlation to the connective universal strand that is continuous vibrational patterns of thought. Now, let's go into what some of these words actually mean, and we'll take it from the dictionary, our dictionary, and from the Webster's dictionary.
And I've gotten some of these online as well. So the definitions we've listed below with these bullet points. The self is referring to the higher self, and that is a part of the soul that orchestrates our learning process for our expanded understanding and consciousness of the soul, the totality of who we are at the soul level. And you have to understand that this physical expression is just a small part of that soul expression.
Yeah, like the essence is basically the unchanging of that nature of the nature of things. It is the natural self of things.
So this karma is a continuation of the thought of the higher self, and it is a stream of uninterrupted, unchanging thought pattern that is corrected as needed. So our incorrect thoughts are corrected as needed From the beginning of our soul birth until the end, which is the culmination of all the learning that we have accumulated over eons,
up to the point.
many, many, many lifetimes. And that is all deposited into this flash drive that is called the soul. So it is the thought of one self-entity, meaning I am a self-entity, Kent is a self-entity.
We're all self-entities. We're all entities within the self.
Talking about the individual people and their higher selves and souls as individuals. Now, collectively, we have a universal collective consciousness, but this is talking about our own personal life paths that we orchestrate on a higher level at the higher self. And those pathways, each life path has many, many events in each path, each lifetime that we are supposed to reflect upon and gain a higher understanding of. And that higher understanding is deposited as a memory into our soul.
Yeah, so it's a correlation to the connective universal strand that is continuous with vibrational patterns of thought. And the strand is an element or form of a particular part of a whole.
A complex whole.
Complex whole. And a strand is just a piece, very small piece of it.
So what they're saying here is that there is a universal expanding consciousness. We are just one little strand of that consciousness. We are working individually, or we're supposed to be working individually to the goal of the expanding consciousness, which correlates to the universal expanding consciousness.
So karma, and we talked about vibrations, human vibrations, universal vibrations, but karma is a vibrational output that manifests certain events. And you wonder why an event happened within your life. Well, you're manifesting it, even though you consciously don't realize it. So the question that was asked by Renee, this thought is determined by ourselves prior to our being born in the physical.
So our guides have talked about the creator knew that we couldn't learn everything in one lifetime. And so that is why we have reincarnation. That is why we come back multiple times, because our higher self is orchestrating a learning pathway through multiple lives and multiple events in each life and different experiences to add to our growing consciousness and understanding.
So as we get farther down in life's path, we become more Renee and I use the word enlightened. I don't care the word enlightened because it's so misused, so used so often, so much, it's overused. So the true meaning of enlightenment or enlightened is lost.
So he doesn't like that word because it has been overused, and through that overuse, it has the meaning of it has been diminished.
It's lost its value.
But the word is correct in this sense, and it is used by our guides. And so the word enlightened means the state of possessing intellectual or spiritual knowledge of, and it's expanding. Yeah. Consciousness is more about where our place is in the bigger scheme of things.
Yeah, so the thought is the beginning of self and ends with the enlightenment at the state of completeness. And we have not reached completeness yet.
We're far from it.
Yeah. So it is a continuous vibration of an entity, which is the individual. Karma is learned to obtain a higher self vibration or vibration of a higher self.
Mhm.
So process varies with individuals, with entities. Legitimacy of aptitudes is a must.
So let's go through this and decipher. And I think we need to start with, people use the word vibration. Do they really know what it do they really know what it means? And so a vibration, everything has vibration. So when you talk about a molecule, like a single atom, that atom has a vibration. It does vibrate, but at
It
what
has its own everything.
frequency would be how fast, and the amplitude would be how high. Is it a little bit? Is it,
So
and
even,
so everything, even our thoughts, they've said, have vibration. How we think, how we understand, that makes us who we are in this physical form, and we project that out into the field. So we are projecting our vibration out into the field,
constantly we're projecting that out.
and it's a reflection of what we're understanding. So, for example, when an event happens and somebody doesn't understand what event happens, how do they usually behave? They act erratically. They start yelling and screaming. But then when somebody comes in and says, this is what's going on, and explains the situation to them, you usually see this diffusion and the level of calmness start to settle in that person. And so it's all reflective of what they're putting out into their environment, how they understand the situation. And this is with all events. So the thought is the beginning of self. At self-birth, the higher self, the soul, when the soul is born, we start to think about our conscious and our understanding of all things, pathways, and start thinking about, through these events, how we plan multiple lifetimes here on earth and possibly elsewhere, and other realms of learning that is going to enable us to accomplish this completeness of understanding of all things. And the Creator made all of creation, all learning spheres. It's all for a gift to us for our expanded understanding.
So it controls time and space.
And that would be a dimension.
Yes, it controls all time and space, which Renee just said. By your definition, to our completion, by our definition, it controls all time and space to our completion of the self.
And so we are projecting this vibration, and that vibration is going to attract like vibration. So, for example, the previous example, if we don't understand something, it's going to attract an event to us that's going to help clarify that event that we don't understand.
Okay, so karma is learned through obtaining a higher vibrational self. The more you understand, the more wisdom you obtain and understanding, then you create a higher vibration.
And that means a higher level of emotional, intuitive, or feeling or understanding of events, places, and people.
Yeah. So with that, you may find out through your higher vibration, you may leave those friends that you thought were friends that don't understand, and you will regain new friends that are on the same vibrational level that you are. That's what's interesting. So the process varies.
And the legitimacy of aptitudes, a must, means that we have to conform to the inclination to learn and to acquire this intelligence. We have to be able to want it in order for our conscious and intellectual evolution to evolve.
We move on to the next.
And it also requires this tenacity. So we don't automatically acquire our expanded understanding by osmosis. We have to work for it.
Yeah, so comprehension of self attained through perceptive understanding and the vibrational magnification to consequential vibrations and events within the lineal process to completion, within that line to completion. So organization of thought, a must to magnify the vibrational output required to attain directional behavior, the path in which you're going to go. A final completion.
So they're saying that we have to attain the ability to understand our higher self through this third dimensional field. The higher self and the soul reside in the fourth dimension of time, who we are in all of time, and that we are learning more about ourselves in this experiential learning field through our perceptions and learning to understand, to gain an understanding through our perceptions, our senses, and how we mentally interpret our experiences. And the vibrational magnification to consequential vibrations and events is that every event puts out its own vibration, and that is magnified so that we can turn inward and say, what just happened here? And do our inner reflection, which goes back to what happened prior to the event, what decisions were made, what actions took place that led up to that final event. That's where the learning is. That's where we need to focus our attention so that we come to a greater understanding of the truth of what happened.
And as we understand the event, we are in a lineal process, our path along this route. It's not just this life as we have now, but all life. It's a linear path to the completion. And the more we understand, the closer to completion we come to. Organization of a thought must to magnify the vibrational output required to attain the right or the direct behavior of the self. That's what's so difficult.
Mm-hmm. So we have to organize our thoughts in such a way that we can achieve that directional behavior, means to move in a particular direction with a goal of a progression. We're progressing in our understanding. So we're moving forward in our level of understanding, but we have to organize our thoughts to go, well, this is what I need to do to change my behavior to effectuate the outcome of my spiritual growth.
Yeah. So now karma is not understood by many. That they give in my view, and what I was told by our guides, many have a misunderstanding of what karma really is. So it is not directional, it is learning and behavior modification, which creates the direction. Okay, it is the lifeblood that we discussed what the word lifeblood stream to the higher self. It is the stream that opens, that keeps the flow to the higher self. So a flow of self-sustaining thought with behavioral modification as needed from surrounding vibrational events involving the flow of this energy involving the flow of vibrational energy and crisscrossing with other energies to attain a correct dimensional flow, a correct path flow of energy for you. Karma understood by few. No self to release the flow of energy. As you begin to know yourself and begin to have the higher self come out, you'll be able to direct the flow of energy to more of a path, a correct path of what you should be on.
Instead of just floundering in life,
Yeah.
you start to realize what the whole purpose of life is, and that is learning. So then you start to really focus on, okay, this event happened. What do I need to learn from this event? And then when we start doing that, we speed up the learning process, and we really organize our thoughts and our decision making to affect that goal. So they're saying it's really, karma is not pointing us in the direction, but it does eventually lead in that direction. It has more to do about the higher self directing our choices, and through those choices we create events that we have to reflect upon and come to a greater understanding, and then from that greater understanding we change our behavior
to obtain a correct dimensional flow of energy. And don't forget, a flow of energy has many different features to it and qualities that make something feel real. And that's the thing I accentuate, to feel real.
And the other thought that could apply to this is that the correct dimensional flow of energy is that once we connect to the higher self and allow the higher self to direct our learning process, and we're aligned to that, then we have corrected the flow of energy coming from the fourth dimension where our soul resides. So that's another way of looking at it. Now, the flow of self-sustaining thought with behavioral modification as needed from surrounding vibrational events. So we've got all these events going on in our world at a given time. They're crisscrossing each other, and we're in the midst of all of this. And it is also being directed by the Creator for our evolution. And it is tied to the planetary alignments. So as the planets change in their position, they are creating a vibrational field that changes as their position changes.
It reflects on our path.
And it reflects on that vibration.
But it doesn't direct our path. It just reflects on it.
That vibration affects the vibrational energy here on Earth and gives a potential for certain events to happen that are for our conscious evolution.
So diffusing the lower vibrational level concepts and infusing the higher level vibrational concepts. So lessons to karmic energy, lessen the value of past and increase the value of future understanding of events. The energy is retrieved under the expanse of a fusion of higher understanding and a diffusion of lower level concepts. An acceleration to further meaning of life itself. It is a key for answers to all that exists in relation to all that is. Now, let's go back and explain.
Shall we cover the definition of all that is?
Yeah, all that is. First of all, what is all that is?
It is the vibrations of everything that exists at any given moment in time. So a snapshot at a particular point in time. The guides gave us this definition: multiples of energy as it obtains its various goals of understanding dictated by the creator. So if you think of everything that exists in all the universes as an energy field, and that energy has a corresponding vibration, then as we grow in our level of understanding and we evolve to a higher vibration, then that energy is multiplying. It becomes stronger. And so I would have to say, in my own words, it's the totality of all understanding and the corresponding vibration at any given moment in time, but that changes and it becomes stronger each time we gain a new level of understanding.
Coming from different events that surround us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So lessen the value of past energies of past events, basically, and increase the value of future events to understanding.
Mm-hmm. So I think, because we do have to do our fair share of reflection on events, why it happened, but we don't want to hold ourselves hostage with guilt, laden with guilt about things that happened in the past. It's like, learn from it, evaluate it as like you're in a classroom and you're studying it objectively, not subjectively, not with all this emotional bias, but what do I need to learn from this? And then release it and let it go, and understand that our value is only going to increase with the future events that are coming and our understanding that we gain out of those future events. Start to realize that our value is in the understanding. We look forward to future events that we can face with a new level of excitement, a new energy, so that we can come to a higher level of understanding with those events.
You have to decide if you want to try to go with the infusion of events for understanding in this new moment.
I
or
also,
them in the past.
Yeah, I also want to discuss briefly that karma, in certain cultures like Eastern culture, they believe karma is punishment and reward. And in a separate lesson that we received, we were told that it is not the punishment and reward, but it is the experiencing of both sides to have a more comprehensive understanding. Maybe in one lifetime, we will have a life of a lot of wealth, but in another lifetime, or even in the same lifetime, we will have a period of severe lack of wealth, poverty. And this is necessary because it creates balance in our understanding, so that we understand the full scope of things, not just this side or that side. And I would have to say that as far as politics, then political means that we've got this political divide. And the further we get to one side or the other, the more narrow our thinking becomes, because we're only focused on that part of the spectrum. And we're purposely ignoring or refuting the rest of the spectrum of energy that exists. And so to have a full understanding of truth and the full understanding of all the energy that exists, we have to open those parameters up and be able to look at the whole picture. The only way we can do that is to take a neutral position. So as far as politics, we're told that in the future, these extreme ends are going to come in closer to the middle. where we're going to be able to see a broader view once we do that.
Yeah, so we have to practice, and that's difficult. It's easier said than done, as they say.
It is. And we're also under the influence of these energies that are coming into Earth that
Yeah.
further
Well, the
divide us.
crisscross energies, the energies from others and things like that that
Mhm.
tend to influence our being. But we have to direct our path to a higher understanding. That when we do that, the eyes will open.
We have to take off the blinders. Yeah.
So,
And so we all have our biases, but we have to really consciously work toward being more neutral
yeah,
so that we can see the bigger picture, because you can't evolve only looking at a small part of that picture by being very narrow-minded.
so with that, I want to say thank you for joining us. We hope you got something from this session on karma and have a higher understanding of what really takes place in this particular moment in life itself.
Also, I'm going to, if you haven't seen our first video on the higher self, we're going to put it in the description below, the link, so you can go back to that and gain a greater understanding of the higher self.
So follow us on our journey through karma. We may have one more video on karma, but we are on a journey to explain much of the things that I received in meditation to a higher level of learning and understanding, so you can continue with us on this journey.
So it's not, we'll probably do another video on the higher self, not karma.
Yes,
Yeah, I think that's what you want
I
to say.
stand corrected.
Thank you for joining us. Please give us a like so we can get out to more people. I think people need to have this information in their hands. And subscribe, hit the bell. And as always, peace be with you on your journey to enlightenment. Take care. Happy New Year.